Just as we were talking about Velveteen Dream last week, it turns out that he has recently been arrested. We're going to talk about the details involving this and possibly another story involving Velveteen Dream in just a second. So stay tuned. This is WrstlXtra.
Yo. This is WrstlXtra. I'm your boy A-Dazzle, the Black Wrestling Advocate. Of course, as always, joined by my tag team partner, Mex, the WrestleManiac, if you will. It seems as though the dream is turning into a nightmare as Velveteen Dream has emerged today. I saw this via Wrestle Talk that Velveteen Dream has been arrested not once, but twice in 1 week. I believe the first incident happened on August 20th. He was arrested for trespassing and battery, was it? And then again on the 26th of August, he was arrested for possession of drug paraphernalia. I kind of don't know what to make of this, because last week we were talking about Velveteen coming back, or the possibilities of him coming back. Also, him kind of re-emerging on social media, where a hashtag Bring Back Velveteen Dream was kind of trending at some point. So we had the discussion, of course, with this new Triple H era of WWE. Over the last month or so, we've seen many people return. So we were like, okay, is it possible for Velveteen to return? We ultimately said it kind of wouldn't be the best idea, based on obviously all the stuff surrounding him, the format, the past allegations surrounding him and stuff. But this guy literally just hasn't done himself any favors by now being arrested twice in a week. I believe he got out of the first one or posted bail or bond, whatever it's called. $1,200. Max, what do you make of this this whole scenario, Velveteen Dream? This whole thing.
I find it very, obviously he's been kind of laying low, as we were saying last week. And now that Triple H has come to the forefront and all of this kind of stuff, why is all of this negative stuff kind of, surrounding him, a beloved Triple H character, Triple H creation, kind of, why is it all coming now? Like, where has he been for the past couple of years or so? Or however months or whatever the case has been? It's literally as if, like, all right, Triple H is back in power now. Maybe I can try to, get my way back in. Like you said, he's obviously resigning a lot of talent and stuff. And maybe through that has made him resurface as a person. But he's, I don't know, found himself in these situations. Whether you said one of them is battery and assault or something, and the other one's drugs. Like, it's I think the timing of it is very suspicious. Like, there needs to be more, because it can't just, well, I mean, it can be coincidence, but it's very weird that now Triple H is in charge. Out of nowhere, this guy has just come back to life, and now this is all happening.
Right.
But Triple H or no Triple H, it's not what you want to see from someone that was a great character. It's not something you want to see from someone that we were just discussing. Is there a possibility? Even as we were saying it was like it's slim to none. It's slim to none that this guy would ever see light of day in WWE again. And now, it's probably none to none. Like it's probably very little chance, and I guess more than wrestling and what we care about and where we want to see him perform. We've seen these stories in wrestling, and you don't want these people to just spiral until they're behind bars for the rest of their life, or they're dead themselves. Like, so yeah, it's very weird. But more than anything, I just feel the timing is very coincidental.
Very, very weird. But do you think? Well, then again, that would have been a story. I was gonna say, do you think that maybe these stories are coming out because there's now this, there was the discussion of him possibly coming back and all that kind of stuff. Whereas before, for a time at least, we kind of just didn't care. We kind of forgot about him. Or especially, the dirt sheets forgot about him. But at the same time, I guess if this did happen a year ago, for example, or 6 months ago, it would have been top news
Yeah,
regardless because it's
a
Velveteen
story.
Dream.
Yeah, exactly. A story is a story. This
Mm,
isn't some obscure person that was in NXT that didn't make it to
yeah,
TV, and then you
yeah.
hear a story about them. You're like, who's that again? Like this
Mhm,
was Velveteen Dream, like you said last
right.
week, touted to be the next top character in WWE by all the big
Mm,
names.
mm,
He was North American champion. He had all the big feuds with all the indie darlings, and
mm.
he was meant to be the next guy sort of thing,
Okay,
or one of
okay.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this kind of class that all came through at the same time in around 2017 to 18 in
Mm,
NXT, mixing that the homegrown guys with those top indie names like Aleister Black, Andrade,
mm,
Ricochet, Adam Cole. He
mm.
mingled with all of these guys, and
Right.
it's like some of them have gone on to greater things, whether it's in WWE or AEW, and you're not even wrestling anymore.
Mm,
Like,
mm,
so
mm, mm, mm.
it's very hard to take. I just feel like it would have always been a story because of who he is and his
Yeah.
character, and obviously what his name was associated with, truly or falsely, or whatever the case is. But
Mm.
um it's just like when, like I said, the door may have been open just a bit. The door may have just been ajar to see if you could sneak in, and yeah, I don't think there's any sneaking in now.
I think you mentioned it being a possible coincidence. I'm one who isn't necessarily big on coincidences. There's no smoke without fire, as the saying goes. And for me, if I was to this is just me assuming, of course, there's no truth to any of this of not being able to investigate or anything like that. But this is just me kind of trying to put some kind of story together, to make some kind of sense of it all. Um, as we said, Triple H has been, bringing some people back, and some that have, who are still on the roster a little bit obscure, are now kind of coming back to their own, like Kevin Owens, for example. Um, and obviously, you saw an opportunity or a possibility that he may come back, or he could have a chance, or do whatever he needs to do. And I think, to me, it would seem as though he probably saw that little crack in the door and tried to break it open, but then it was blocked, and he just hasn't been able to take it. Um, and and on top of everything else that he's gone through the last 18 months since he was let go, or the allegations that there were, and all the rest of it, you know, that's a very difficult situation to deal with mentally as well. So maybe, again, with him being caught with drugs, there's nothing to say that that's the first time he's ever had drugs in this space of time. For him to be arrested for battery, trespassing, we don't know the details of whose property he was trespassing on, and the details involved in that. Maybe that's not the first time something like that's happened, or he's had some kind of confrontation with somebody. And to me, it kind of just feels as though, and I don't want to put this on him, but I would not be surprised in the slightest if there is this downward spiral that's already started happening way before these arrests, and we now knowing about these arrests and stuff like that. We've seen it many times with a few others. Jeff Hardy is probably the biggest name where we've kind of seen that over time, where he wasn't wrestling for a while. Then we find out he was caught drink driving. Then we find out he's been, had to go to rehab and all the rest because he was on whatever for however long, because of his circumstances, and that was his way to deal with it. I would not be surprised if Patrick Clark, real name of Velveteen Dream, is in a very similar position. You know, if not physically, if not already there, if you know, it's given his circumstances, given everything that's going on, it wouldn't surprise me that that's where he's at or on his way there. And that's the scary thing about it. To have everything taken away from you just like that, whether these things were true or not, everything was taken away from him. And that's not easy to deal with when you know the passion that this guy had for wrestling. Like, he was an absolute student of the business and the profession, the sport, the entertainment of pro wrestling. So for him to now not be involved in it at all, it's almost like you've taken him, you've taken everything from him, basically, literally. So I'd be very intrigued to know how he has lived his life over the last 18 months and what he's actually been doing with himself. I can't even imagine what he's been doing, if I'm honest. Like, has he literally sat in his house for the last 18 months and done nothing? Like,
yeah, it's one of them ones where I mean, I don't know if you saw this past weekend. Obviously, the Vince scandal has been happening and all of that stuff. And he recently celebrated a birthday, and all these pictures are out of first spotting of Vince since he retired or whatever the case is or whatever.
Right.
Like, I can imagine if Velveteen had been out and about, we would have seen him. We would have seen, Velveteen Dream doing this, like a bit of Paps and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
We haven't heard nothing, like you said. Even just as you were speaking, I was just thinking, has this been a case of maybe, you know, in the last 2 months or however long it's been since Triple H has taken over the reins, maybe he has tried to reach out. Maybe he's been told something along the lines of, look, it might still be a bit delicate right now. You know, we're not going to touch you for now, sort of thing.
Right.
And that could have maybe pushed him into some type of destructive spiral, leading to, you know, these 2 cases within a week of each other, like you said. All assumptions, we don't know nothing for fact, but like, I just say that, like you say, I 100% agree with you. I'm very much of the school of there's no smoke without fire. Like, even if these stories that are coming out, his arrest is not the concrete truth, or this isn't what, you know, the entire picture was, there's no smoke without fire. Something happened there, innit? Like, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, or something happened. So we can't, you know, just say he's completely innocent of whatever he may be being accused of. But the timing with Triple H being in charge is, I think, it's too coincidental why his name has just come back up to prominence and this stuff has happened.
Right. That's why for me, I feel there's some kind of connection, however direct or indirect it is. There's some kind of connection. Something's happened. There's probably been some kind of conversation. And this is how I feel like he's kind of, like we said, you know, he came back onto social media early last week, doing this whole thing of bring back Velveteen Dream and, you know, re-emerging, everyone having the discussion over Twitter and social media. And then now this, like, you wouldn't put it would be very unwise for you to put yourself in a position where, you know, you're making decisions that are going to jeopardize that one thing that you've wanted in life. And for me, I feel as though some kind of conversation has happened to where he's been told, not for now, not today. And then boom, all right, let's be reckless. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of is the only thing for me to kind of make sense of it. But at the same time, you know, and I was gonna say, like, wrestling isn't everyone's life, and that's not the only thing that they do. But then again, we know Patrick Clark. It literally was the only thing he wanted to do in life, and he would say that every opportunity he could. There has to be some level of connection. We don't know yet. There may be more details that will come out further in the week. This story was only kind of came out, I think it was late last night, to where we're recording, of course. But, you know, there's still more time for details and whatnot to come out. We'll just have to wait and see. The other thing that was interesting, involving Velveteen, to do with Velveteen Dream as well, but more of in an indirect manner, we had this whole, people were talking about the possibility of him coming back. And we also have Worlds Collide, which is coming up soon. NXT versus NXT UK. We're seeing title versus title unification matches. But of course, Carmelo Hayes as the NXT North American champion has no opponent. Now, of course, we're going to think, okay, it's got to be someone from NXT UK, but who? But then I saw that a lot of people, or a few people, should I say, mentioned Velveteen Dream, to which Carmelo Hayes actually responded to.
What did he say? I didn't see that.
He literally said, "Hell nah."
Wow.
Not, maybe. Not, I wonder. Oh, that would be a good match. He literally said, "Hell nah."
Wow. So yeah, I mean that's another thing to consider. Like, obviously, the company can hire him back,
right?
But how do his peers feel?
Right.
Do they want to work with this guy that's allegedly done XYZ?
Right.
Like,
and we already kind of have a very good idea, or have heard the stories. I've heard direct stories of how difficult he is as a person, or socially, and all that kind of stuff. So maybe even if not the allegations, there was still this whole, I'm not too fond of this guy, and he's a great worker, so most people would carry on because he's a great worker in the ring and stuff, and so they do it for the sake of wrestling. But in terms of personal friendships and whatnot, I'm not sure how many he had, but I know that there was more than enough stories and incidents to where he wasn't. People weren't the greatest fan of him on a personal level. So you're right in saying it's one thing for the company to hire him, and for the higher ups to have some kind of faith or whatever in him, but then you've got to consider those people that have to work with him day in and day out. You then consider the fans that have to, that will react to him when they see him again, and all that kind of stuff. And however true or not, let's be real, the evidence that was put out there, and the general feeling amongst the fans is that he was guilty. So it's going to take a lot. It would take so much to try and turn that around. There are still some fans who, have seen that, WWE said they didn't find anything with their own investigation. Some are very skeptical about that decision. Some have accepted it and would love to see Velveteen Dream back and stuff like that. But it's a very, very difficult thing. And from when your peers are just not having it.
Yeah.
I think, that is just one person. That's one person. But at the same time, that says a hell of a lot. Because I'm sure if Carmelo Hayes was asked a similar question to other people who've probably been accused of stuff, Matt Riddle, for example, Theory, as the two guys we mentioned last week as well, and others who have been accused of stuff and not been necessarily found guilty, you wouldn't get that type of reaction.
Yeah,
you wouldn't get that type of reaction. Definitely not publicly. So as much as it's Worlds Collide, and you're thinking, well, I wouldn't expect Velveteen Dream to come back at Worlds Collide, but at the same time, I'm sure that wasn't what Carmelo Hayes was referring to when he said hell no.
Yeah.
So that says a hell of a lot on that whole thing.
Boy, we have a comment here from Ola's Gaming. Big up Ola. He said, praying for his mentals, Shah. Hopefully can get the help he needs. And if everything is fine in terms of his innocence, he can return to wrestling. This is the thing. WWE, up to now, they deem him innocent. Yep. The investigation didn't bring back nothing in regards to the child scandal, or underage person scandal, should I say. It's just a case of the crowds didn't seem to take to it. They were still very vocal, which obviously tampers with booking, tampers with stories they're trying to tell. Yep. And they let him go. So, but 100%, pray that, if he is on a destructive path, that he gets any necessary help he needs. And if it's not going to be wrestling, he has to accept that and start planning the next next stage of his life.
Mhm.
He's still a young man. I don't think he's even 30 yet. Like, so yeah, you have to move on from it. He could still work within the business. He could open up a training school or work for a training school or something like that. Something that more of, you know, he can be in charge of and not have to report to somebody. But yeah, it seems like still within himself, he probably has to do a lot of, you know, cleansing before he gets back to that state. But like SDK08 says, public court of opinion can be a killer.
Listen, and that's literally it's more, it has more bearing than anything else. You know, if a legal court was to deem him innocent and the general public still felt he was guilty,
Cancel him.
exactly, done with. And I believe that's basically already happened. To an extent, that's already happened to an extent. But the last comment I'm going to make on this whole thing really is that I'm kind of, you know, scratch my head sometimes when I see some of the people who are still involved in wrestling based on the stuff that they have done and found guilty of. Not just allegations. You know, we talk about the likes of Hulk Hogan, for example, who was, you know, racist comments and all the rest of it. Yes, he's a legend and all that kind of stuff, and that has a massive bearing on him being, you know, used again in WWE. But you know, you got guys like himself, and others who have done stuff and still have a job within wrestling. It does actually make me. This doesn't make me look at the Velveteen Dream thing with a racism lens. It's not even that, because WWE defended him publicly. It does actually make me consider or wonder whether they lied for him, whether this
WWE.
whether this whole investigation is true or not. Because why would you defend him, say what you said, and still let him go?
I mean, it's possible, but like we said, if the crowd don't want him and it's tampering with stories they're trying to tell, then yeah, that could be a reason. To be honest, if he was on main roster, and this is what I said at the time, not that this is the right thing to do, especially if he was guilty, but I said, well, I don't understand why they're still trying to force him to the avid NXT crowd. And we know how close-knit that NXT crowd is, and that small community, especially at that time, that everyone that watched NXT were like the diehards and stuff like that.
Right.
I would have sent him to main roster. I would have literally just sent him to main roster. That's ultimately a quote-unquote new crowd.
Right. Very true.
Let's be honest. I'm not really sure that Vince would have cared about these things, the allegations, especially if they'd done an investigation and it was brought back that he was innocent. After all, you know, they done their investigation for theories, here, Money in the Bank, US champion, Riddle, main event in this, that, and the other. Like, I think what they should have really done, and I said this at the time, just send him straight to main roster. If you really want to keep this guy in the company, send him straight to main roster, because the NXT crowd they're going to grill him every time they see him. And that's what they did. And ultimately, that's what they've said is the reason they've got rid of him, because they just couldn't see past it.
Very true. Very true. SDK 08 makes another comment and says, I don't think the WWE would lie for him. They release people for mere allegations without formal investigations. Example, the NXT UK. Like, there was quite a few. This whole speaking out movement as well. It kind of came all around the same time, about 18 months ago, during, you know, the height of the pandemic, or the early few months of the pandemic and stuff. Allah's Gamer says Mex for WWE CEO.
Keep it with Triple H and Stephanie. I like them.
But yeah, I mean, you know, as we've said, we're seeing the likes of Riddle and Theory kind of, you know, at the height of their game at the moment, in terms of storylines and where they are on the card and stuff like that. But we have also seen when WWE have tried to defend others and tried to hold on to others when the public haven't really taken to them. Lars Sullivan, for example, Jackson Riker, who kind of, you know, was all about the Make America Great Again and all that kind of stuff, you know, all of that madness. You know, Lars Sullivan with X amount of foolishness that he was going on with as well. And they tried to hold on to these people, but at the end of the day, the public spoke, and it just didn't work. And they were heavily invested in both guys, or three guys, including Velveteen. And when the public speaks, and you don't have that, I guess, legacy behind you as well, it's just not enough.
But this is the difference. Like, okay, what's his face? Riker's his words and actions and whatever came to the forefront when he was already on main roster. Lars Sullivan, he had a bit of a past on NXT, which came to light in NXT, and I don't know how soon after. I don't know the timeline, but they did still move him to main roster.
They did.
He said that, I think he said like a one little apology, and then they still moved him to main roster, and then tried the thing over there, and then he went on with his stupid self and said some more nonsense, and then he got the cut. So, not to say main roster should be seen as some escape door, like emergency exit, like, and you just run up there and leave your sins behind, but like ultimately, like, it was a way to preserve this guy if they thought they had something there with Velveteen Dream. Ultimately, it's money, it's an asset, innit? They're paying him a wage, like to preserve the asset. They should have just changed his scenery or kept him under contract, left him off TV for a certain amount of time, and brought him back or whatever. But hey, we are where we are. And like we say, just hope the best for him. But these are going to be allegations that are very hard to shake.
Yeah, of course. And as I mentioned kind of last week, we talk about all these other allegations that people have been, accused of and stuff. Stuff, racism and political views and, untoward with women, blah, blah, blah. But when it's involving underage, that's when it's in society, it's a different kettle of fish, completely different kettle of fish. It's not something you can just sweep under the carpet and forget about, or over time is a healer, blah, blah. It's not the same. So it is actually a very different scenario for Velveteen than it is to many of all the others that we've mentioned before. Moving our way over to AEW. This weekend is All Out. And what's interesting to me, just a small observation that I made, is obviously for a very long time, since the inception of AEW, I believe, I might be wrong, I believe with all the pay-per-views that they've had, I think it's only twice, no more than 3 times, where they featured a black wrestler on their main pay-per-view. I believe Jade Cargill was one, and Ricky Starks is possibly another one. But what's interesting with All Out, it's almost like Tony Khan or someone. I don't know if it's Tony. I doubt it's Tony Khan. But someone has said, right, we gotta look at this, because we gotta sort this out. Right now, we've got 4 matches that I know of involving black wrestlers. 3 of them, I'm gonna call this trio of matches All Out Black on Black Crime, because
I knew you were going there.
Because why? I mean, talk about throwing us in there. We've got Powerhouse Hobbs versus Ricky Starks. We're gonna see the Acclaimed challenge for the AEW World Tag Team Champions against Swerve in Our Glory, Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee. And then, of course, we've got the TBS Championship match between Jade Cargill and Athena. Like, am I watching HOG or is this AEW? Because why?
Mate, don't get too excited. It looks good on paper, but then this might be Tony saying, "There you go. Don't call my name until All Out next year."
Right. He's gonna say in the press conference, in the post event press conference. Look, we had 4 matches involving black wrestlers, and all of that. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, to be fair, what I do like about all 3 matches is that they are actually exciting matches. They don't feel as though they're just card fillers to me. Ricky Starks, possibly, but at the same time, I'm intrigued with their clash. I'm intrigued with their clash and how it's gonna go.
That's not the card filler. That's warranted. That's good.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I think I know which one you're talking about. I don't know actually. You tell me. But I'm excited for the tag team match. I'm not sure if it's
card
been
filler
done the right way.
Card filler.
I don't know if it's been done the right way. I don't like how it's been done. And then of course we've got Athena and Jade. We've been waiting for that for a while. Again, possibly lagged a little bit. Probably could have done more leading up to All Out. But going back to the tag team championship match, what I don't like and what I don't get is how and why Swerve and Our Glory came out to save the Acclaimed. For what?
Card
Why?
filler.
How did that happen?
Card
What are we
filler.
doing? And then their little exchange in the back. Like, I liked how the Acclaim kind of hit back at them and said, well, we don't need you, and I don't know why you, blah, blah, blah. But help me out here, please.
This is the card filler. It's very lazy. It's very lazy, bro. They realized on top of a trios title that, oh, we've actually got a tag team championship and these guys need to defend their title. And they sent out Swerve and Keith Lee to do a save. Why? Like, why? They have never been seen on screen of these guys. And then backstage, obviously Swerve's doing up. Everyone loves the Acclaimed, which is obviously the slogan. Fine. And then the Acclaimed say, well, yeah, but we are the uncrowned tag team champions. Since when? I don't know. And then Keith Lee says, because you're a ranked tag team.
Didn't even say what
ranked. You're a ranked tag team, so we will challenge you at All Out. Which, I mean, is a very kind of lazy way to, you know, if this was WWE would just be like, these guys are facing these guys, and they won't even show you all this nonsense that happened in the back. I feel like somewhat even all of this story, the saves and the backstage is more like insulting our intelligence. Like you're trying to show us why you're putting this together, but it still doesn't make sense.
It still doesn't make any level of sense.
You have a whole ranking system, which I've said this, I've denounced this. This system is in 2022 is dead. In 2019, cool, but 2022 is dead because why are the number one contenders here doing up 6-man tag while the 5th place ranked team are getting a title shot? Like, come on, this match is going to be fun. It's going to be a really good match. I actually half hope the Acclaimed win because I just feel they deserve it.
I really hope.
Yeah, like I'm here for them winning, but in terms of how they've put this one together, card filler.
In the grand scheme of things, like I've been saying for possibly at least 4 months now, the Acclaim should have had a title shot a very long time ago. It just makes sense in terms of how popular they are right now, and and the momentum that they're carrying. But over the last since they had that trash can match with the Gun Club, that should have been done with, and they should have moved straight on to whoever was tag team champions.
Yep,
straight up. I don't think there was any need for this kind of dabbling with them, kind of turning face or whatever. Like, let them do their whole thing. And not that they've turned face, but it's almost like the actions of a week ago when they saved Billy Gunn was kind of, it felt like it was a face turn type of scenario. So for them to then be offered, it sounds so great, to be offered a chance at the tag team championships by the tag team champions just feels off, because it should have just been a thing where they said, right, look, we are the uncrowned champions, and they can proclaim all of that, and then boom, say that they're coming for Swerve and Lee.
Yeah.
We've just done it. We're done. They've got the momentum. They've just got a big win, or within their little feud. They're ranked wherever they're ranked. Does anyone even know? And they come for the championships. Like, make it make sense in the very easiest of ways. Not this whole, oh, we're gonna save you. Oh, we like you, so we're offering you a chance. Huh?
Like you're saying, yeah, that dumpster match was maybe the best part of what 4 weeks ago now at this point.
Yep.
So since then, that's when that story should have rightly ended. You've put them in a bin, you've pushed them off the stage. Like, that's it. That story should be done. And then from there, for me, you go into right. The Acclaimed are hot. I would argue they've been faced since they were in that feud with the Gun Club. And they start wanting to make, build up some wins or just do a program where whenever the Acclaimed are on TV from 3 weeks ago, they're calling out the tag team champions.
Right.
Because why have they gone back into their feud with the Gun Club? Why are they saving flipping Billy Gunn for? Like, move them along. Like, right, they've dealt these guys, and let's move the story along. And Keith Lee and Swerve on the flip side, they faced Josh Woods and Tony Nese in a non-title street fight. Okay. Then on Rampage, they defended their championships against Private Party, who are not ranked. So now, how did the Private Party get a title shot? That could have been a segment of either the Acclaimed having a match again to build wins, or it could have just been the Acclaimed having like a segment calling out the tag team champions, and Keith Lee and Swerve come out, and then the heat starts going from there.
Right.
Like, I just don't know. It's like they just remembered last minute. Oh yeah, we've got tag championships as well. Right. These guys need to be on the card. Let's fix this together. Blah blah blah. Like, it's just not what I've come to expect from this company that prides themselves so much on storytelling and this, that, and the other. Like, this ain't it.
This is not it at all. And I think we're in a very similar position when it comes to Jade and Athena. Like, there's been a bit more of a story. There's been a bit more of a build up over the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Obviously, the whole thing started when Athena first turned up in AEW about 4 months ago now, I believe it was. Obviously her first appearance was to come at Jade, but we've taken this long to kind of really build something. So yeah, we, as I said, the last 2 weeks we've had a bit of a build up with Jade and the baddies attempting to attack Athena and all that kind of stuff. And we had that little brawl backstage on, I think it was Rampage last week. So we're building something in that respect. What makes this match interesting to me isn't just the build up or the feud. We recently found out. I said this to Mex earlier today. Thunder Rosa is she injured?
Yeah. Okay. Well, they're reporting that she's injured. I personally think it's a story. I don't think she's injured. I think she's actually going to turn heel and pair up with the Renegade Twins.
Okay. They've been getting a few wins as well on Dark. So exactly. There's something going on there. Yeah, she does coach them. They're tag team champions in her promotion, Mission Pro Wrestling as well. So
coincidentally enough, I noticed the week before when they said Toni Storm is the number one contender because Kris Statlander is injured. What's her face? Thunder Rosa said, "Oh, okay, we'll see." I don't know what "we'll see" means when someone's telling you this is the number one contender, but
right.
That's what she said. And when she announced that she was injured, she had her. This might be a reach, but I noticed this. She had her hair in like 2 braids, 2 cane rolls back, just how the Renegade Twins do their hair. So that's just what I think, innit?
Not too much of a reach, That's not too much of a reach. Those little subtle things happen often.
Pick up Gerard, by the way. He says Mission Pro. That's
yes,
Thunder
that's what
Rosa
it is.
thing.
Yeah, Mission Pro Wrestling. So yeah, what makes this interesting is we're going to have it's like you get to a certain point in your AEW career or in your AEW championship reign. You probably get to either a place of popularity or a place of exhaustion, and you have to let go of your title so someone can be interim. They just need to make, what they need to do? Just have an AEW interim championship.
division.
like the 24/7 title or something like that. Just some jokes and call it the interim championship, because everybody has had, every title has become an interim. There's been an interim TNT, interim world, interim women's now. We're gonna have interim tag team champions at some point, interim trios, interim whatever the championship pack holds. Like, what is with this? I can't stand the whole interim thing. It makes no sense to me. You either relinquish and you have to try and come back for it, and it's done with. That's it. But getting back to the point in hand, we're gonna have a vacant AEW Women's Champion. We've been saying for maybe a month or so that Jade's run as the TBS champion is probably becoming a little bit stale. It needs some ruffling in some kind of way. Could we see Jade lose the TBS and go towards the AEW Women's? Is that what we can expect?
I mean, yeah, it's something they can do. Like, she is probably their next big Joker card, if you like, that can save that main division, the main side of the women's division, the title picture, the main event. Like, I was looking at, obviously the participants in the women's title. That's going to be at All Out. Toni Storm, like, very good wrestler, maybe not the strongest of character. Britt Baker, strong character, but not a great wrestler just yet. Jamie Hayter, probably the best blend of all of them,
very true,
in terms of character and work. And then you've got Shida, who is a fantastic wrestler, but they've never really explored her character.
Never.
So for me, if a big brave move is putting the title on Jamie Hayter, that's what I would like to see. But really and truly, the women's division, whoever's been champion in the last 6 months has fallen short to Jade and how they've positioned Jade and everything around her. So I'm not gonna lie, seeing her lose to Athena, I don't know if it makes it's believable just yet. Like, yeah, I don't know how they're gonna do it. Not to say Athena can't out wrestle her. It's just it's very much monster push right now. So how do we take down the monster? How does Athena take down the monster? And yeah, then Jade can maybe go after something in that main women's division. It probably won't still be for another 4, 5, 6 months, knowing how they do things. But yeah, give her something else to do, or just at least give her character another dimension. Maybe she has to chase back her TBS title, chase down another new title. We'll see.
And here's the thing. It's crazy to think, like, maybe a year ago, maybe even when Athena was still in NXT, and you were to turn around and say to someone, I could not see Athena beating Jade Cargill, they would look at you like you're an absolute madman and call for a straitjacket there and then. But I think the issue isn't so much, we're not saying that, it's not believable for Athena to beat Jade in the same way we would say, for example, it's not so much believable for Rey Mysterio to beat the Big Show, small, big guy, all that kind of stuff. It's nothing to do with ability. It's all to do with booking. All to do with booking. And this is why I say, for me, when it comes down to it, booking has more bearing on anything than ability, than popularity, than anything else. Because even now, it's still crazy to think Athena beating Jade sounds far-fetched. How? When Athena is one of the best women's wrestlers we've seen, she's definitely up there in the top 10 maybe, or that we've seen over, the last 5 years maybe. But it does seem very far-fetched because of the way they've built this whole thing. They've not done anything with Athena necessarily to make you think, right, she has to be the next champion. They've done everything with Jade to make you think, right, she's not losing for now. But at the same time, the unfortunate part for Jade is when we're thinking about her moving on to the AEW Women's World Championship seems far-fetched now as well because her run has gone stale. I don't feel as though if we asked this question 3 months ago, we'd be like, yeah, of course. Let's do it now. Let's do it tomorrow. Now I'm like, I'm not too sure whether it's going to work. This is the issue that we have with this whole booking of the women's division that we've had since day one, I guess.
You know what? Some would argue, and this conversation was happening intensely over Twitter this past week.
Okay,
that TK hasn't been booking his champions well. Full stop. We know the women's division is the worst of the worst, but in general, apart from the world title, that's probably been you book a good run to the world title and you book them consistently as champion. The rest of the divisions, it's like you're booking the good run to the title, and then once they're champions, it kind of falls off the hill. And I feel like people are beginning to see that, like, you know, I think Ola said it earlier, the honeymoon period is over. Like 100%. Gerard said that AEW is feeling the pressure. The pressure is getting worse. Like literally, like I feel like TK is he's telling good stories, but that's the basic. It's pretty much now how people are like saying, oh, Triple H, like things have turned around for WWE. Triple H is just doing the basics.
Literally.
He's just doing the basics, but we're so used to a regime under Vince where we haven't seen the basics been done correctly. When AEW started off, you saw someone else doing the basics. You're like, oh my God, TK is, you know, he's amazing and all this stuff. But now you're settled into it 3 years down the line, and you can see, again, like you've always said, these are the same old wrestling problems. Like, it don't matter the company, like, I don't know what it is, and where I guess TK's his is being shown and showing up a bit more. He keeps introducing new stuff. He keeps introducing new belts, introducing new stars, and like people are falling to the wayside. Belts are falling to the wayside in terms of how they're being booked, and now people are beginning to see, okay, like he's still very good. I'm not saying he's not a good storyteller, and he can book to a good match, and like we said, book to a good championship win. But then what do you do after that?
I feel as though, and I've seen this in how he is as a person as well, and it's been commented on before. I just see it simply as when he's invested in something, everything else loses out. So, for example, like when we saw the reaction that he gave, I think it was Claudio when he signed with AEW, and he gave him this big hug and all that kind of stuff. You know, you roll your eyes for the exact same reason, exactly that. That was the reaction of most of Twitter, I guess. You know, we kind of saw this whole thing. We see this whole thing where, we know that that's his favorite guy. Lo and behold, he's now Ring of Honor champion, and some big bust up happened with Jonathan Gresham, who has been carrying ROH for the last 6 months or more around the world, blah blah blah, doing this, doing that, keeping the name relevant and all that kind of stuff. And yet, at almost like the first instant, boom, he's gone, done with. Not even lost the championship, but he's gone completely. And I feel as though that's literally just how this guy operates. His attention is on one thing, and he can't multitask. I guess he's just a typical man. I don't know. You just can't multitask and have his attentions on everything else. He will do it for his world championship, for his John Moxley, for his Kenny Omega, for his CM Punk. Well, CM Punk would probably tell you different. And a few others, for your Chris Jericho's and the Sammy Guevara. But after that, no one else matters. No one else matters unless you're new for about 3 weeks. That's it. And that's literally what's going on. That's literally what's happening. So even as we've said with Wardlow, what's going on with that? I mean, it's a nice addition that it's very random, but nice addition that the Motor City Machine Guns are in this 6-way match.
Random as hell, though.
Like random, but it just makes for a better match than it being Andre Dutt and Satnam Singh. But it's completely random because it's not even like they're currently heels on Impact or anything like that.
Bro, remove the TNT champion, give him a match because he is the TNT champion, and then just leave FTR and Motor City Machine Guns to just have a dream match.
That would have been absolutely fine. That would have been absolutely fine. Even though random, that would have been actually a good way to be random.
Yeah.
For them to be a surprise, maybe a surprise opponent on the night or something like that. FTR come out, we've got nothing to do, boom, Motor City Machine Guns come out. Crowd goes crazy. We've made a great match here. Boom, done. But yet we're getting this 6-man randomness, and the TNT champion is not defending his TNT championship, and that whole thing with Wardlow has just gone south from day one. So yeah, the cracks are showing. Well, they're there for everyone to see. It's busted wide open with TK, as Gerard said in the comments. TK is not a booker. He needs to quickly understand that he's not a booker. I don't know what the answer is to the situation. I don't know if he's got other people that are trying to tell him something different or trying to come with otherwise other creative ideas and stuff like that. But TK is literally now, it kind of feels as though TK is now the Vince McMahon, where he's running everything and no one can tell him nothing.
That's exactly what it seems. And we saw that they've hired this whole talent team and whatever to help, the personnel kind of stuff in the back. But the minute I heard that TK, when he come out and said when they acquired Ring of Honor that he's going to be the booker for Ring of Honor 2, I said as well as booking a whole show here that is not in its final form yet. Like, can't you see elsewhere? And you can think that, I'm better than this guy, but can't you see elsewhere how that is not the best way to go about it? Like, but you want to still do it. He hasn't booked anything like I said. I will excuse the world championship picture because the world title's always been looked at with reverence and booked, consistently well, I would say. The world championship and anything the elite are doing, being the Bucks and Omega and stuff, those are the only well booked and consistently booked stuff on this program. And everything else has its highs, has its lows, but the highs are usually more than the lows, so we just let it slide basically. But yeah, they have a lot of lows, and a lot of these divisions, a lot of these people, once they get to being a champion, we've seen Jade suffer in the last few months, but from it I would say this Athena stuff has been literally. Athena debuted a Double or Nothing, what was that, May? So that's almost 4 months ago, and now we're getting the match. How? How has that been? And it's not like they've told like a super hot story since then.
No.
Like,
we had 2, maybe 3 weeks at the start, and now we've got these 2 weeks at the end. What happened in that 3 months?
Nothing. Chasing baddies, handing out business cards, Statlander being here and there and being injured.
Telling Layla Gray to disappear every week, but she's still there every week.
She still comes back. Yeah, it's odd. It's odd.
Very, very odd. Very, very odd indeed. We still haven't had any answer to what Stokely's doing either. Anyway, moving on. I just don't know. I just don't know. Clash at the Castle was also happening this weekend, I believe. Is there anything to look forward to? I saw
Bianca Belair's in the six woman tag. Lashley doesn't have a defense.
Nope.
Street Profits aren't on the card.
Nope.
New Day on fighting Viking Raiders on SmackDown.
Nope.
That's Happy Corbin. No, they're not there. So it's just Bianca. Bianca's flying the flag in the UK.
Answer me this question. What was the point in that 6-woman match with the 3 random local competitors?
It's to build. It's to build, isn't it? It's to give these guys a win to come up against Control, or the name of the
Why?
faction. Yeah, I don't think it's particularly needed. We know the accolades of the women's champion
Yeah.
Asuka, Alexa Bliss. I don't think it's particularly needed, but hey, they wanted to give them a win. They wanted to give them a tune-up match, as Gerard said in the comments. I don't think this proved anything. Like usually when they have these local competitor matches, yeah, they're just very quick. Like they're just very, very quick, happen quickly. The match is over. But this one lasted for far too long, in my opinion. It just went on and on and on and on, and yeah, ultimately they won the match, but again, like we're saying, it didn't prove much. It does looks like he's frozen. He's frozen on my screen anyway. So we'll wait for him to come back or rejoin. I'm just gonna look at Ola's comment here. Ola's said Sasha and Naomi, I bet they are at Clash. I think they'll be at Clash. Let me take this thing off for now. Yeah. Sasha and Naomi, I think they're gonna be on Clash, but I'm not sure what the angle is. I don't know how they're gonna necessarily do it because the women's tag champions, they're not on Clash. Like they haven't said anything about that. Raquel Gonzalez and Aaliyah. So I don't know how we're gonna get them to clash or how it's gonna make sense. But it'll be a good pop. I think the crowd will enjoy it. Gerard says here in the chat, well, the tag champs aren't booked for Clash at the moment. Yeah, so he says, so I'm not banking on Sasha and Naomi being there. I think we won't see them for a while. So obviously, I guess this is another story we can talk about. They were said to be re-added to the roster, to the internal roster, wherever they keep who's on the roster or not. Like these guys are back. But I thought like a better place to show them would have been on this week's past show on Raw. Because on Raw, obviously, we saw there was a tag team championship, the finals for the women. I thought it would have been the heel team of maybe Control winning, and then you get the likes of a Sasha and Naomi come out and be like, yo, we never lost these titles. We're back. Challenge us at Clash, blah, blah, blah. We go from there. But yeah, I don't know how they're going to reintegrate them, how that's going to work. But it seems that they are back in the company, so it's almost like we're one step closer to getting their return. SDK08 says, I think they may show up on Raw or next week's SmackDown instead. Yeah, that's a possibility. Maybe once, the champions make some type of address like, yeah, we're champions, this, that, and the other. We're going to be fighting champions. You see Sasha and Naomi come out. I don't know how they're going to do it, but like I say, I think we are one step closer. Gerard says here, I think they are going to make us wait until we nearly forget about them, and then boom, Trips is going to make this one count. Yeah. That it's just when. The question is, how long are they gonna wait? It's already been months they haven't been on TV. Like, so, after this Clash at the Castle, I mean, the next big thing, is what? Survivor Series in November. So we're still some time away from them returning and what that's gonna look like when they return. It's difficult, but yeah, I hope the division still is forming, because ultimately this is what they were fighting for, the division to be taken seriously. Ola says, I think they are coming back as heels as well. Still gotta let the what the EO was legal thing play out as well. Oh yeah, the EO was a legal competitor when the pin happened yesterday. So yeah, that's a point. And right, so Gerard has just confirmed Survivor Series is in Boston, hometown of Sasha Banks. So I was thinking this. I think yesterday I went into my group chat and I said Raw was in Boston, but no, it wasn't. It was in Pittsburgh. I knew somewhere Boston was in. I don't know why it was in my head, but I knew. But okay, so yeah, Survivor Series Boston. I mean, if the company allowed them to take some dates outside of WWE stuff, it does. He joined us. If it allowed Sasha and Naomi to take outside of WWE bookings, then maybe they've given them like an extended period. And Survivor Series is when they say, okay, you've done all your stuff outside of the company, come back at this point, which would be good. However, for me personally, obviously being a big fan of these guys, we've waited long enough, yes, but Naomi and Sasha need to return earlier than November. We're just ending up on the imminent returns, I guess, on Sasha and Naomi. What do you want to say about that?
I'm sure you've mentioned obviously they've been re-added to the internal roster. To me, as you just said, I'm not here for the wait. I'm not here for the waiting thing. We've just randomly crowned Raquel Gonzalez and Aaliyah as WWE women's tag team champions. I don't get why them, but at the same time, just bring Sasha and Naomi back to claim them titles from those two young ladies as soon as possible, because
I'll say I'm not mad at it. Like, I'm not mad at it because, like, let's be honest, the division is young. The division, there's no one else. So rather than doing the cliche thing, like putting two massive stars together and making them tag team, and then they just hold the belts forever, you might as well use it to build the confidence of people that are kind of new to the division and all of this kind of stuff. Like, what else is Raquel Gonzalez or Rodriguez and Aaliyah going to be doing? Like, they're not going to win women's titles anytime soon. So they may as well.
I mean, Raquel, yes. Aaliyah,
listen, I could tell, like, she knew this is the only gold she's ever holding in this company. Like, that, her reaction was very much like, oh my god, like. But yeah, Raquel Rodriguez, I think there's big stuff for in the future. But there's nothing wrong in taking this kind of first step, especially while we're still trying to develop this division. This division's here 1 minute and then gone tomorrow, and here 1 minute and gone tomorrow. So
I mean, when you look at the division and former champions as well, we've had these random teams together, Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH, and Alexa Bliss, Nikki ASH, and a few others in the past as well. Natalia and I think
everyone.
They're all
Natalia and Shayna, Natalia and Sonya Deville, Natalia and someone else.
Natalia and a female in catering, basically. So it's not over or ridiculous that it's now Aaliyah and Raquel, but I think in the grand scheme of things, I think what we wanted, because we wanted this big return, because we're now seeing Sky and Kai doing their thing as well. We wanted that. It kind of just, as much as it was the obvious choice, it kind of still made sense to still keep, these tag team championships quite prominent and feel as though they mean something. And that's not to say that these two now can't do that, but I think given the situation, given the circumstances, given the way it's happened, it just would have kind of added to this whole thing with Bailey and Control and these three ladies, for them to then have these tag team championships. And regardless of whether it meant that then Naomi and Sasha come back for them, it just would have felt as though, okay, we've got decent substitutes, I guess, for Naomi and Sasha in terms of any kind of notoriety, popularity, blah blah blah, and to keep the championships prestigious. Again, not to say that Raquel and Leah can't do that, but it's going to be harder work because they're lesser popular, lesser known talents to Sky and Kai. So yeah, I mean, I don't even feel like I want Naomi and Sasha to come back to take it from those two. It's just like, nah. So I don't know.
I personally want Naomi and Sasha Banks back as main eventers, as single stars. I don't even want them as a tag team, really. Like, if I had my choice. SDK08 says Io and Dakota have bigger fish to fry. They don't need the straps as of yet. And that's all it is to me. Like, okay, Control came back. You reignited the women's division, but the best team arguably in this tournament didn't win it, really. So it's like, okay, you must have another plan for them or a bigger plan for them or whatever the case is. So let's wait to see what pans out there. Let's wait to see when Sasha and Naomi return, hopefully sooner rather than later, although Sasha returning in Boston sounds pretty good on paper. And then, we'll wait to see what happens with the rest of this division.
You know, we mentioned Jay Lethal and the TNT with the 6-man, it kind of not being a big, you know, feeling like a big pay-per-view type of event match. And I think the same could be said with Bianca and this, you know, this 6 women thing that's going on with them. I just want Clash at the Castle to be done with, and we just get the Bayley versus Bianca thing like from now, because so we say every week, we've been saying it for months, we just need to, you know, do something with Bianca's championship run.
Does Bayley win in that scenario?
Yeah, straight up.
Cool.
Straight up, she wins. I don't know how, why, what happens afterwards, but it would make sense for Bayley. It would be nice to then see Bianca kind of having to chase again. I think she's just a much better chaser than she's a champion. As great as the matches are, in between, as we always say, in between the matches, we just don't know. But would the shake-up actually make a difference?
I think if we have the luxury of having one more, it could be this one. Like, this might be like the end of this chapter, and then starting like Triple H booking Bianca Belair, so to speak. Right. I think we need a solid run of Triple H booking her as a champion before we can necessarily, you know, make that judgment. Right now, it's not good. She is a better chaser than a champion of what we have to go by. But if we get the luxury of having one last go at it with Triple H, I'll take that and then kind of see, you know, where we can go. Gerard says here, well, in fairness to Bianca, she's actually become a bigger star this run in mainstream versus the last run, which is true. She's obviously signed her deal with WME for all her, you know, representation. I mean, I still think that's a brilliant way. We're talking about stuff that can turn into a heel. This is Hollywood Rock here in our hands. Like, let's do it. Let's make her this heel. Like, I'm this person now. Like, you know, her stance on everything she says, the EST, this, that, and the other, is borderline arrogant.
It's like, straight up. Let's make it happen. This is what let's make it happen. I don't know what we're waiting for anymore. Like, I understand that whole not wanting to turn a heel, because like we've done with John Cena in the past, for example. You know, why try and fix something that's not broken? It's not broken in the grand scheme of things, at least. But I think in terms of stories, in terms of giving us something different, something needs to happen. Something needs to happen. Gerard mentions the run hasn't been bad because representing outside, she's been representing outside of the company, which has more value inside of the company, which is true. But when it comes down to storytelling in WWE, the run hasn't been great. Yes, it's been great for her to hold this nice shiny belt while she's at this awards and that event, and pitching at this baseball match and whatever else. It's brilliant. Of course, it's worked out for her, and that's great. But then that would still happen if she didn't have that title in her hand, or if she loses it, should I say? It will still continue. It won't stop because of her being a champion. So let her lose it. Let her lose it. Give Bailey the run. And let's go.
SDK08 has just said something. Bianca versus a motivated Shayna.
Oh.
Remember back to the NXT days when Bianca could not beat Shayna Baszler for that title.
Yep.
Like, again, this is something that they can use. They can make the ties because obviously Triple H is in charge now. He managed that whole NXT situation. They could basically, show Bianca threaten. Maybe is the EST really confident now that she has to face someone that she could never beat to become NXT Women's Champion, and they now put that person in front of her. Triple H is clearly using Shayna Baszler again because out of nowhere she's now facing Liv Morgan for the Women's Championship at Clash, and I'm hoping Shayna wins, but I need to see how they're gonna make Shayna lose because let's be honest, Shayna's losing, but how? Because I'm not going to buy it.
That is very true. That is very true. Possibly something to do with Ronda. Possibly. Yeah. And then we see them two clash in some kind of way, whether it's championship involved or not. But yeah, it's one of those things, man. Triple H is very great at doing the storytelling. We've seen so many times with back in NXT when characters were forced to think about what they do next, and all these different things that were messing with their character and their confidence and their abilities and all that kind of stuff. And I think Bianca needs that ASAP, because I'm actually quite surprised that the fans haven't turned on her in that respect. I'm actually quite surprised it's taken so long, and with no kind of change in her character and how she speaks and how she acts and who she is. The crowd haven't turned on her yet, but that's a good thing. But at the same, I just want some complexity in my wrestling, in my storytelling, and we're not getting that with Bianca. And I'm hoping Triple H does something, whether she holds the title or not. I don't think it necessarily matters whether she has the title or not. But there just needs to be some kind of shake-up in her character, in some way, whether it's her questioning her confidence or her being overly confident. We need something. I guess that's it, to be honest. That is it.
I guess last one. Everyone's got their booking hats on today. Gerard says if Shayna beats Liv to become SmackDown Women's Champion, Shayna versus Bianca happens at Survivor Series. I mean, we don't know if we're still gonna go down this road of champion versus champion at Survivor Series under this new regime, but the Shayna versus Bianca, this is the bottom line. Shayna versus Bianca story needs to be told.
I actually think we'll get that SmackDown versus Raw type thing, because I think Triple H likes that type of thing. He likes that type of mix up. He likes that type of mix up. So it would be nice to see it being Shayna versus Bianca. Oh, that would just be that would be Triple H's thing. That'd be like, yep, this is what I did however many years ago. I told you it was going to happen on the main roster. Here you go. Thank me later.
I personally think when it comes to Survivor Series, Triple H will be more of the old school of Team Shayna versus Team Bianca.
Possibly.
More so than Raw versus SmackDown and Champion versus Champion. But I guess, it's only a couple months away. We'll see.
War Games at Survivor Series. Anyway. Before
they need to run that.
So, folks, this is WrstlXtra. You've been listening on the FinTech or watching, of course, on the WrestleManiac UK YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you can also see not just what we do here, but what this guy does every single week. As always, shout out to the Mandem Wrestlings. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe on the Wrestlings podcast YouTube channel as well. You can follow us. You can follow me, Black Wrestling Alliance, if you want, if you're not already. I don't know how you're not already. At Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram and BWA Dazzle on Twitter. Of course, you can follow this guy, WrestleManiac UK, if you will. Mex, WrestleManiac.uk on Instagram and WrestleManiac UK on Twitter. Guys, thanks for joining us. Sorry for that little technical hitch along the show. Because of it, you lucky lot.
This has been our show, and we are gone.
See you later, guys.